Welcome back to Optimize You. On this podcast, I am going to be diving into the topic of humility and openness, how important that is on any journey with health, fitness, anything in your life. And then I also dive back into the different seasons and just really the gratitude that I have for where I have come over the last year, 2 years of recording this podcast. Hope you enjoy this one. Now on to the podcast. So the definition of humility as it comes to the old dictionary Google that I just did is a modest or low view of one's own importance, humbleness. And then in a sentence says he needs the humility to accept that their way may be better, right? So I think that first off, I think this is kind of a terrible just definition of what humility is. I think that the sentence makes a lot more sense when it comes to what I think about when it comes to humility. It's more of, openness to change in some aspects, or openness to maybe hear out another side or another viewpoint or another way of doing things. And I think when it comes to really anything in life, but especially when it comes to the things that we talk about on this podcast, like health and fitness, improving your body, feeling and looking your best, maybe, all the different things that we do talk about, mindset, right? These things, I think that humility is a huge trait, and it's something that honestly and transparently, I was terrible at for a long period of time. I kind of allowed maybe the way I allow other people's views to paint a picture of what you view, right? So first off, I think growing up, I took in things from my parents, friends, family, different stuff. And that's not to say that there isn't great views in there, but I think that I relied a lot on other people's viewpoints on things and other people's way of doing things to morph my own view of those things. And I think it's hard not to do that. But as I've been growing older, I've been able to kind of reevaluate that side of things and also just be open to hearing other people's views on stuff. Whether that's anything within the health and fitness space, I'm 100% open to change and to like doing things a completely different way. Maybe I don't know the best way. Maybe the way I'm doing it isn't the best way to do it. And that's why I also think that trial and error is a huge trait of people that are successful in anything, is because without actually taking action on different ways of doing things, different ways of accomplishing a task, different types of ways to make it so that you can make a habit or whatever to be successful in any area of your life, then you're just kind of on the sidelines, just evaluating things and honestly over analyzing a lot of times. And it's funny because I bet you at the start of starting this podcast, we're coming up on about 2 years of doing the podcast. And I would bet money, a lot of money, that at that point in time, I was very stuck in my ways, where I thought a certain way and I wasn't even open to too much of that change. Maybe I bet at that point I was starting to come around to like being open to different ways of thinking. But it's funny how that change has really morphed the way I am today, and how I, when it comes to different things, I think like those type of people that are closed off are the people who struggle, right? They struggle they struggle with constantly falling off and restarting on their fat loss plan. They struggle with getting to the gym on a regular basis. They struggle with these things because they think that the way that they're doing it is the way that's working. When honestly they can just look at the evidence and see that it doesn't work. Right? So humility, definitely want to challenge everybody listening to this today, and just kind of a reminder. This is just a reminder podcast for me too. Everything that I do is stuff that's top of mind at the moment. Stuff that I'm maybe reevaluating, where I'm like, like I'm really proud of the way that I go about this side of things now, where, I can have a conversation and like I don't need to have an argument or confrontation about different things. Like I know that the way I'm doing stuff might not be the best way. And you know what, like if somebody's super, has a different way that's worked for them, I'm more than willing to try that out and see if I could integrate that into my life, or integrate components of that thing to get better and improve. And you know what, this is kind of a reflective podcast. Like I'm really proud of the person that I've become and that I'm continuing to become. I look at myself even a year ago, and it's just a completely different person that is a lot less stressed, has a lot more joy and happiness in his life. And I think a lot of that goes to meeting Marissa and just all of the amazing things that she's added to my life. But you know what, throughout that like relationship so far, it there's things that you compromise on, and there's things that you like. It kind of exposes different things, like awareness wise, within yourself, as does, I think, any journey, right? Any relationship, any sort of just goal of just, because for the longest time, like that's what I think one of the goals is like to find that person that you can spend the rest of your life with. And so the fact that I've done that, and it's much better and much more amazing than anything I could have imagined. Just kind of seems like people are probably going to hate for this, but it seems like a movie. It's crazy how amazing it is, and how just the love continues to grow, and I continue to grow, Marissa continues to grow, and we just continue to get better as a couple. And I'm excited for all the future, what the future holds. And it's and I think that my openness and just ability to adapt and ability to hear different things has only improved over the last year in that. And you know what? I'm really happy too within like the health and fitness side and the food side of things. Like I was super set in my ways, and like, needing to be restrictive and needing to eat this certain way, and needing to always like exercise this way and exercise this amount of time and for this many days a week, and go on these walks and do this and that and that. And like, I kind of have realized through the help of Marissa that some of that stuff has just overstressed me. And so, not that there isn't a need and like, a definite non-negotiable to get 3 workouts in a week, and to make sure that I'm moving for the sake of just health and being around for as long as possible for her and our future kids and my family and friends and stuff like that. Like, but it's also just, I think the focus on the stress piece that I've talked about so much on this podcast, where it's like, I didn't realize how stressed I was by trying to be so strict with this and that, and make sure that I'm getting all of these things in, and then also being successful in my job and moving my career along. And so it's that type of awareness that's helped me feel even better, and just know that, like, I don't need to get 5-6 workouts in a week. I don't need to stress about getting 10,000 steps in every single day at this point. Now, maybe there's going to be different times in my life where like I'm going to make a more of an emphasis on these different pieces, because they're going to be the pieces that are going to help me with that whatever goal I'm going after at that period of time. But I think it is really important to understand the seasons that we all go through in our life. And there's seasons where, it's that working out and moving, like they're going to be there, and they should be there all the time within a reasonable amount. Because if you're sedentary and you're not moving and you're not at least maintaining what you have body wise in some respect, like you're not helping with your health, which I think it should be the cornerstone. I shouldn't tell you what should be the cornerstone, but for me, like, it's the corner. I just want to be healthy. I want to be, I want to be there as long as I can for the people that I love. And so it's always like a thing that I'm making sure I want to get my 3 workouts in. Now maybe some weeks those 3 workouts might not be as crazy or as tense as other weeks. And I do take the week off that I need to here and there when my body's hurting. And I do, mix in yoga on those off days from working out. And I do try to make sure that I'm at least getting on like a 20 to 30 minute walk a day. And being intentional with moving my body and at least like not sitting on my ass all day. But that's just the season that I'm in. And I don't know how long that's going to last. But I'm really happy with it. And I'm really happy with myself, because I know even the old versions of me that you've seen on this podcast have been really like strict with things and very rigid and very like, you need to do things this way. This is the best way. When in reality, I don't know what the best way is. I think that the best way to do things is the best way for you. And I think that's important to understand. There's going to be different ways that are going to work better for you in different seasons of life. And you need to evaluate where you're at and what your goals are in this particular season. And then you need to put in place the the workouts, the movement, the nutrition, the stress management, the sleep, the whatever components are going to help you move forward in the best of your ability now. And understand that it doesn't have to be like that forever, that even next week, maybe you're going to have to reevaluate how you're going about that and be open to change and be open to a different way of doing it to help you move forward and be better that week. Right. So that's kind of my message this week, is a mishmash of humility and openness, and also just a little bit of gratitude for where I've come over the course of doing this podcast, and how grateful I am for all the people who have been there, who listen to this and watch this podcast on a weekly basis. How grateful I am to my co-host Matt, to all of my friends and family, and my fiance, and everybody who really has been there and has allowed me to continue to grow as a person. Because I think, if we're not growing, then what are we doing? Right. So we should always at least be moving forward. That's not to say you won't have steps back, but I think, over the course of a month and year, you should be trending in the right direction. And I really feel like I'm doing that, continuing to be a better person and a better version of myself, a better human. I used to be shameful for the way I went about life and the way that I, did certain things at certain periods of my life. But, I think I can really just be proud of who I am now, and just understand that those different periods of life that we all go through, they lead us to the person that we are, and they allow us to continue growing and allow us to look back and see the growth that we've had and see how far we've come. And this is just another reminder to make sure you do that. Make sure you do look back over the last month, 6 months, year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, just see how different you have become and the changes that you've made. And maybe you will look through that period and see that, there's certain areas that you've regressed greatly in, or you're not proud of. And maybe that exposes those areas, allows you to kind of hone in on those things and push a path forward, or to kind of really make those an emphasis going forward for the next week, month, 6 months, year, whatever it may be. But hopefully, all in all, this helped you out. All I do ask you, and we ask from you on a weekly basis, is, first off, if you're not subscribed, just subscribe or follow on any of the, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whichever one you're listening and watching to. Otherwise, if you are, just please share this with one person. Get this out to one more person who you think would benefit from the podcast, would benefit from this message. We really do appreciate it, and hope you have a great rest of the day, great rest of the week. I'll be talking to you soon.